Well, hello, my friend. Welcome back to another episode of the From Chaos to Peace podcast, where I talk about how clutter is so much more than you think, and we put a spiritual twist on clearing that clutter to get organized. Thank you so much for allowing me back into your ears. Well, hello, my friend. I'm your host, Conny Graf. Welcome to the podcast, and thank you for being here. So today I want to talk to you about strengths and weaknesses, specifically how our greatest weakness often comes from overusing our greatest strength. Ouch. But before we dive in, a quick question. How did you experience yesterday's Pisces full moon, which was also a lunar eclipse? Maybe you noticed what it wanted from you. Full moons ask us to pause, to be grateful for what we have, and to let go of what no longer serves us. Whether that's clutter, busy work, old offers, energy vampires, and of course also the limiting beliefs and the fears that keep us stuck. And that ties into today's topic, looking at how we sometimes overuse our strengths and therefore turning them into weaknesses. And in case you don't yet know your strength, you can go and take my free quiz. It's a playful self-discovery to reveal your dominant element, fire, earth, air, or water. And you gain quick clarity on your strength and your challenges, your blind spots, and where you might be overusing what comes easy to you. So go to connygraf.com/quiz to take the quiz. And you also find the link in the show notes if you don't have time to write down that URL. So now let's go back to what we want to talk about. The greatest weakness often comes from overusing our greatest strength. It's kind of like too much of a good thing, right? Is often not such a good thing. So here is the core concept. Our greatest strength, when dialed up too high, becomes our biggest liability. It's like having a superpower that turns into kryptonite if we don't know when to turn it down. So for fire types, for example, the strength is passion and drive. But overused, it becomes burnout, frustration, and sometimes even aggression. The earth type's strength is stability and reliability. But overused, it becomes stubbornness or inflexibility. The air type's strength is communication and ideas, but overused, it becomes scattered thinking, scattered working, or also indecision sometimes. The water's type strength is empathy and intuition. But again, overused, it becomes a lack of boundaries or absorbing everyone else's emotions. Carl Jung put it beautifully. The decision is whether one wants to be good or whole. Good is only one half. Whole includes the shadow. And with shadow, he means our weaknesses, right? So when we lean only into our strengths, we're trying to be good. But that's incomplete, according to Jung. To be whole, we also have to integrate our weaknesses, our shadow, the parts we usually try to avoid. For example, fire types keep pushing, keep going, because it's scary to admit they need rest. Earth types might stay rigid because changing things might feel threatening. Air types keep spinning ideas to avoid difficult emotions. And water types can keep caring for others just to avoid feeling their own needs. And since we're in Virgo season, an earth sign, let me give you a Virgo-flavored example. Virgo energy is brilliant for detail, precision, and making things useful. But overused, that strength becomes a kind of utilitarian drive. Everything has to serve a purpose. Everything has to have a result or prove its worth. It's like when we go to a retreat or take a course and feel pressure to say, this changed me. Here's what I got out of it. just to justify the time, the energy, and the money that we've spent. But often real change doesn't always fit neatly into that box. Often the gold is in the ongoing journey, not in the quick outcome. If there is no quick outcome, not everything is lost. The journey and the long-term outcome is way more valuable, which we might miss with this kind of point of view, right? So you see how a beautiful strength, like Virgo's practicality, can be very overused. And then when overused, it can cut us off from our deeper process, from our progress even, right? Because we might give up, or we might think, oh, this didn't help, was useless. So overusing our strength can be a clever way to avoiding what really matters to us, and also often to avoid all the uncomfortable things that challenges bring, right? Our challenges in the outside world. And so here is, of course, the kicker. Most of us weren't raised to embrace this balance. Schools and workplace often drilled the opposite message into us, to focus on our weakness, to fix what we're bad at, and also to not stand out too much in society, to be more like a normal person, right? And the result, a lot of us feel not enough. And we're always working on our deficits instead of honoring the strength that we have. And this also ties into what I shared with you in episode 282, that was called The Power of Words and Self-Understanding versus Self-Improvement. So on one side, we risk overusing our strengths. But on the other side, we also risk ignoring them completely, especially with how society is or was, and neither extreme really helps. So let me give you a real-life example from myself, from my life. So my dominant element in my birth chart, so my natural dominant element is fire, with strong air and water, but basically 0 earth. On paper, you'd think I'd be scattered and unstructured, lots of passion, ideas, and intuition, but no follow-through. And this can for sure be true if I'm not careful. And yet, people often tell me, Conny, you're the most organized person I know. And being an organized person needs some earth, right? Needs structure, needs reliability. I can't say that word. So how is it possible that in my chart, in my nature, I have no earth, and yet most people find me the most organized person they know? Well, I had a very disciplined, rule-based upbringing, and it forced me to develop earth qualities and suppress some of my fiery spontaneity and watery softness. And that wasn't always easy. Right now, I couldn't be the fiery little girl that needed movement, that got loud sometimes. I couldn't be the watery girl that felt the emotions deeply, that is a highly sensitive person. It really wasn't always easy, but looking back, in a way, it was definitely also a gift. And it shows we don't have to be trapped by our natural patterns. We can learn the missing element and missing strength. But let me tell you, what I've learned also is we don't have to deny our primary strength. We can integrate both. So with no earth in my natural blueprint, right? One of my personal struggles is that I love learning more than doing. Give me a book, a course, or a new idea, and I'll dive in like a sponge. The risk is I can get stuck in learning mode instead of taking action. Now, on the flip side, I also have incredible persistence. That's my pit bull side in a way. That's when I overuse that learned earth strength, right? That learned earth element. It helps me stick with things like this podcast, for example, for over 5.5 years. But when I overuse that persistence, that pit bull side, I can cling to projects that are long overdue and need to be let go. Or I can discuss something with a person and not wanting to let go of the topic, even though the other person is ready to move on, right? So see, my persistence is both my strength and my weakness. And even this learned strength can create my biggest weakness, depending on how I use it. So here is your takeaway. Your greatest strength, when overused, becomes your weakness. And only focusing on our weaknesses, like we were taught in school, crushes our true potential, and it's very unkind to ourselves as well. Now, the path forward is about integration, integrating light and shadow, strength and weaknesses, strength and challenges, embracing both, and being compassionate with oneself when we overuse our strength or struggle with our weakness, or overuse our learned strength, like I just told you the story about being persistent. So with this balance, if we learn to balance, this is how we move from being good to being whole, also from chaos to peace in ourselves, right? Because if we're not paying attention how our overused strength becomes weakness, that creates chaos. Now, if we are aware and start balancing that, we move more towards peace. So this week, I invite you, first, go take my Animal Ally quiz if you haven't done so yet. It's really a fun way to see your dominant element and get insights into how you can use it to your advantage. You'll also find the link in the show notes, or you can go to connygraf.com/quiz. Then, once you know if you're a dragon, turtle, hummingbird, or dolphin, reflect on the following question, or questions more. Where might I be overusing my strength, turning my superpower into kryptonite? I'm sure you find some examples in your own life or business. Second question, and where might I be ignoring my strength because I've been conditioned to focus on my weakness, to improve my weakness? The more you see both sides, the more peace and power you will find in how you show up. The more you will be able to show up authentically, right? Okay, my friend, that's it for today. Have a beautiful and amazing week. Talk to you next time. Take good care. Bye for now.